Hey there, you wonderful listeners. I have a question for you. Do you want to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily and then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place and for free. How can you beat that? It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here is how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, there are Q&A and poll options available, and those are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I've discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it has made doing my shows like the Steam Machine Podcast, Yabs Pod, and the JRPG Report much, much easier to do. Like being able to just go on there, record them, upload it, boom, it's done. I don't have to pay for a site service to host or anything like that. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. This week on the Steam Machine Podcast, nos sumergimos en el loco mundo de Guacamelee. Cue the music! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me as always are my good buddies, the Brothers of Destruction themselves.
My name is Nathan, and joining me as always are my good buddies, the Friends of Destruction.
Hey, it's me, it's Willie. I don't have a third joke. I was not prepared for that, and he blindsided me.
Like with a chair to the side of the head.
Oh,
RKO out of nowhere.
Oh,
Two. Man. Gentlemen, how was your week?
Man, nothing too crazy. I actually had a pretty chill week. Just got to play a lot of Guacamelee and not a whole lot else going on, which is nice.
Hell yeah.
yeah, I found things pretty relaxing myself. Sheesh, there was something else I wanted to talk about for a minute, because I definitely was playing another game for a minute, but I can't remember what it was now. I guess I could check my own records. Shit.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to quick plug. Me and James are going to be recording this week. I believe Thursday. This Sunday, whenever you hear this, it'll be this Sunday. I'm going to be a guest on the JRPG Report.
Ooh, what you talking about this time?
I don't think we have an actual topic. I think we're just going to talk about some JRPG stuff in general. So I'm going to try to think of some stuff between now and then. I told him, I said, bro, you're going to have to listen to me talk about Pokemon a little bit. Because he's not a huge Pokemon person, but I'm like, no, you're going to have to hear me talk about Pokemon a little bit. He's like, that's cool. So
You're going to have to pollute his good person podcast with talk about pro wrestling and a lot of cusses.
I am always proud of myself that, like, I am really good about not cursing on that show. Like, I'm fucking always awesome. Proud.
I mean, shit, damn.
I do a good fucking job. Yeah. Did you find your game, bud?
No, it turns out I couldn't find it.
Okay.
I thought it was in Steam, but it was something I was doing somewhere else.
Well, then let me knock out this real quick.
Oh, yeah. I actually had been starting doing... I had resumed some programming stuff that I'd left behind for a while. Got back into learning C for a while because I was starting to relearn it in November. I used to do it in middle school and shit. And I forgot how pointers worked, so I wanted to relearn C, and then I kind of took a little while off because I overwhelmed myself with stuff in November. Started picking it up a couple weeks ago, got back into it. Now I'm doing Unity stuff again, and because that's C#, it's not C. I mean, I probably shouldn't have done C, but it was just, I personally wanted to get my own flow going again, and C was just how I programmed in middle school, so it just kind of brought me back. And so I'm working on some Unity tutorials and stuff, and I'm planning to make some simple games over the next couple of months. So we'll see how that goes. Nothing big, no magnum opus type stuff. More along the lines of I'm gonna recreate Frogger in this programming language and stuff. But
Icebrand Studios is about to make you his bitch.
No, don't tell him that yet. No, I'm about to make. I'm not about to make anyone. I'm not about to make anyone my bitch. I'm about to make Pong. I'm about to make 1977 my bitch.
Jesus Christ. Let's see. A quick update on the Fantasy League. I think the only pickups this week were Cody, old Bushy Tail and Co. Productions, picked up the Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok DLC and Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story.
Okay.
Now, he's going to luck out if that ends up being really good because he snagged that game for $1.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, fuck you. I should have I should have bet against that, but it's all good.
I don't know. I think you might have mentioned that last week because I was thinking the League of Legends property, like outside of the main game, has been really hot lately. Like,
yeah. Well, I did mention it in our chat the other night.
Okay, that's it. The TV show is literally at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's crazy.
That's impressive.
I know. Like, apparently a lot of cool spin-off stuff, too, because it's called, I think, Vox Machina or Vox Machina or something. It's a spin-off of the Critical Role podcast, which is a D&D podcast. Their animated series is also at 100% or 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it is apparently a really good time to put out a cartoon fantasy thing based on a different work.
For real.
Or maybe people are just working really hard on these things because they love them.
Yeah, that could be, too. Maybe we're past the old movies, like video game adaptations of our yesteryear that were not very good and just money cash-ins, and maybe people will actually give a shit about them nowadays.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I got a final critic rating. Well, I say final, it should fluctuate a little bit, but I got a rating for Elden Ring in.
Okay.
That came out. It got me a crisp, cool 96.
Sheesh. So you're in the driver's seat for this thing at this point.
At the moment, but I think I am one of the people who have the least amount of spots left for drafts.
Yeah, but with a score of 96, they're going to need 2 or 3 games to catch up.
It's true.
I don't have any draft picks left. I just have Tom Brady.
I'm just curious. Sorry, that took me a second for that joke to hit me and be like, oh, I get what he's saying. For some reason, I got it gave me a 96, but I got 32 points for it. So we were talking about before we went on air that maybe there's a thing where if it's like over 90, you get extra points. But I'm not quite sure. I need to ask Mike. So Mike, if you happen to listen to this, and I haven't messaged you already, you should message me and tell me the answer to this question. But yeah, and then I don't know if I mentioned this last week. King of Fighters 15 came out. It finally got a rating. It got an 81, so that's not bad.
Not bad.
That seems reasonable.
Not bad. Star Wars The Old Republic Legacy of the Sith, that DLC still does not have a critic rating, but I'm okay with that because people who are talking about it said it was a buggy shit mess.
Oh no.
Oh.
So if it doesn't get a rating, like enough critic ratings to not come up, then I'll just get 0. It just doesn't take away, it doesn't add. So I will be all right with that. But even if it gets a 72, that's 2 points. So, whatever.
Right.
Other than that, I'm trying to see if anything else released. Stephanie's first game released, Martha is Dead. It got a 70.
Oh, really?
So
I thought that game had some hype. I'm surprised it didn't do better than 70.
I don't know. I almost wondered if the censorship for the PlayStation version affected it some. But yeah, 70. So no points for that one. And
it's a little wild.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I think everything else we've talked about. Oh no, I'm sorry. Mike did have a release come out. Destiny 2, the Witch Queen expansion thing, and that got a 90.
Ooh.
Oh.
So he got 20 points for that.
Nice.
Smart
okay,
pick.
so hold on. 90 is 20 points. 96 is 32. I'm gonna have to do some math later.
My guess is that every point over 90 is doubled.
Yeah.
Because you're 6 over 90 and you have 12
extra
over
points.
what you would have expected. Yeah.
Yep. I am so glad that you can do math that quick because my brain was like, oh, yeah, let's just do that later. Simple addition. Who'd have thought?
It's actually multiplication.
It's multiplication.
There you go. Even better. Next, let's do geometry. Square equals triangle. Make it work.
No.
Oh, man.
I mean, a square's area is basically just the same as a triangle's area of the same dimensions, but twice as much because it's not the other half of the triangle if you think about it.
There you go. Everything he just said with an exclamation point on the end.
And an upside down exclamation mark at the beginning.
Because we're doing a game that takes place in the amazing culture of lucha libre. Wait, are we transitioning
No,
yet?
because he's got more stuff to talk about.
Not quite
He has more
yet,
shit to talk.
but we're almost there.
But lucha libre, it's awesome.
It is.
Anyway, let's continue.
My buddy Jeremy is wanting to start doing a podcast with me, and I told him, yeah, sure, man, I'm down. I mean, I have a lot of free time at the moment. It's the working title is Yet Another BS Podcast, because it's just he just wants to get on there and bullshit. There's no like real topics or anything. He does want to set up, like, Anchor has this thing where you can do voicemails. So he wants to have people call in and like ask us questions and give topics and stuff once we get people rolling. But we'll see how that goes. I'll let everybody know like when the first episode comes up and things like that. If you want to hear just me bullshit about things that isn't video game related, then that'll be there. And then this English Massive story that I have noted is just one that my mom told me earlier and it blew my mind. So we're sitting at the dinner table and she's talking to me and my dad, and she says, yeah, I saw this thing earlier where this guy has these English Mastiffs and one of them's 250 pounds and he sells the breeding, I don't know what that is, a sire cost or whatever, like where you pay him to let him bang your dog, the dog bang the dog, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, $3,000 is what it costs to have it made, right? And I was like, Jesus Christ. So she's talking about these big ass dogs, and she tells my dad, she goes, but here's the kicker. She says their names are Paul, Harrison, and Ringo. And without missing a beat, I looked my dad dead in the face and I said, he had one named Lennon too, but someone shot it. Oh! And my dad just looked at me and started cracking the fuck up, and he goes, holy shit, that's marketable. He goes, that's a good joke. And I was like, zing, yeah, got him. So I just wanted to share that because I made myself laugh. That's always a fun time. But
the sad part is I made the correlation that they were the Beatles, and I was like, which one is missing there?
You sad son of a bitch.
That would be old John. People always talk about like, I never would have guessed that John Lennon like hit his woman and things like that. I'm like, really? Did you ever listen to his lyrics? Where he's like, what is the one song? You Can't Do That. Where he says, I'm gonna let you down and I'll leave you flat because I told you before, oh, you can't do that. And I'm just like, come on. He was singing about it.
Yeah. John Lennon, not a good person.
I was always a Harrison guy. Like George Harrison
was called the quiet one, but then you look up the shit he said, and he threw more shade than any other Beatle. Yeah. Like he would say shit about like Guns N' Roses that would have made anyone blush today. It's like, oh, they covered Knocking on Heaven's Door 3 chords and they got one wrong. Like, damn, dude.
I hate that fucking cover anyway, dude.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad as hell. Oh, I imitate it because it's very funny. Like,
that's the part that ruins it for me.
It's so fucking bad.
and what gets me is that my dad hates Guns N' Roses for that song, and I'm like, they actually do have some good stuff, but not that. Like, I tried to show my dad November Rain. I'm like, this song is a lot better than Knocking on Heaven's Doors because they weren't trying to be Bob Dylan. Anyway, yeah. I
mean, it's still a song that completely jerks itself off super duper hard.
Yeah. It's also very overplayed. It's up there with like Stairway to Heaven and those types of songs where it's like everybody busts it out when they pull out a guitar at a campfire. You know what I mean? That's why I always. But
if someone's gonna waste 8 minutes of my time with an acoustic guitar at a fucking barbecue or whatever, if they start playing American Pie, cool. If they're doing November Rain, that means there's like 5 minutes where they're just doing noodling by themselves.
I love noodling by myself.
I noodle by
Fair
myself.
enough. I'm just saying it is fine for a musician to jerk off. It's fine for a musician to jerk off musically. It is not fine for them to basically grab their dick like it's a rattlesnake and act like they're trying to bring the rattler out the throat end. Like, there is a point.
I suppose so. Yeah, I would be more impressed if they bust out like Green Grass and High Tides or something. I'm just like, oh, okay. Let me see if fucking play the shit out of that guitar, but it actually is not just wanking, is what I call it, guitar wanking. Which I mean, I sent you I sent you 2 songs the other day that were just guitar wanking for 5 minutes, though, so I can't really say much.
Guitarists wank as a matter of existence, though. Like, that's kind of how they try to prove their own validity, is they wank aggressively.
I remember Devin Townsend, there was a quote by him. He goes, when I was in high school, I didn't get laid very much because I had an obsession with playing guitar fast and not pretty chords and stuff. But it just made me laugh. So, speaking of, well, we'll loop it back around to Lucha Libre. We played Guacamelee this week.
Yeah,
which I think means that we should bring up the O-Dubs.
Fuck, this is a video game podcast. My bad.
The O-Dubs. Yeah, it's
let's get that O-Dubs.
Guacamelee, which was developed by Drinkbox Studios and published by Drinkbox Studios and Activision. Guacamelee is a Metroidvania action platforming video game developed and published by Drinkbox Studios, initially launched in April of 2013 for the PlayStation 3 and Vita. And then was later ported to Microsoft Windows in August and to OS X and Linux in February 2014. An enhanced edition, entitled Super Turbo Championship Edition, was released for the Wii U, Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Xbox 360 in July of 2014. And then it later got released on the Switch in October 2018. So this game's gotten a bunch of different releases. The game draws inspiration from traditional Mexican culture and folklore. And there is a sequel that was released in 2018 called Guacamelee 2. So let me hear some first impressions from you, gentlemen. Like, going into this, Nate, why did you pick this? That's what I want to know. Like, what was your intention behind picking it?
Yeah, so I picked it.
I have a guess. I hope it's what I think it is.
Well, I picked it because it's a Metroidvania, which I love, fairly short one at that, and I just love the idea of the whole inspiration behind Mexican culture and Mexican wrestling in particular. The Lucha Libre style is just fantastic, and the art was really fun to look at. So I was like, I did not think this game was... Spoiler, I didn't think this game was going to be as good as it is. So I was actually surprised by that, but I just thought it'd be a really good, fun time to joke around with my buds about and give us an excuse to talk a little bit more about wrestling, which I know you two are never hurting to do.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That wasn't my guess. My guess was that you had heard of this game a while back, and then it came back into your conscience when you started playing Dead Cells again, because it was one of the 6 games that was crossed over into the Everyone Is Here update.
Ah, that is a good point. That might have been some kind of influence to it, to be honest, but it's one that's been in my library for a while that I've wanted to play, and we've been kind of like in our whole trend of playing games for the show that were voted on by the listeners. So like I haven't been playing a lot of my own games outside of that lately. So now that we're kind of doing host picks every couple of weeks, it's been a lot better to get some of the games that I've been wanting to play out there too.
And to be sure, I'm not criticizing you for saying, oh, Dead Cells reminded you of it, because this has also been a game that's been kind of low burning on my I should get around to this one day list as well.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I got this for free, I think, on PS3 back in the day, and played it, and didn't really get on with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Like, I mean, it was all right, but I don't know. It was something about playing on the PC. It was definitely a smoother experience, and I had a lot more fun with it this time than I did previously.
Well, first impressions for you, Willie?
Oh, man. The moment I got into this game, like, I didn't know what to expect. I'd seen a little bit of the art style and stuff before, and, like, at first, it almost kind of, like, everything is kind of smooth, and it felt almost, like, Flash gamey to me. But then the more I got into it, the more I'm like, oh, they made a lot of really deliberate decisions here. The physics work really well. The platforming feels good early on. And I'm like, eventually my earliest impression was just, damn, I'm sad they made this a Metroidvania, because it's just kind of a little too easy. Because, like, it felt very easy in a Metroidvania way early on. Like, that they couldn't get too deep into the beat-em-up system or the Metroidvania systems because they wanted to kind of combine both. That would turn out to be wrong later on, but we'll get to that.
I was thankful because the last 2 Metroidvanias that I played weren't nearly as forgiving as this one. Yeah. So it was like coming into play this, I was like, oh, goddamn, I didn't die to the first thing. Sweet. Oh, I didn't fall from the top of the fucking map all the way to the bottom. Sweet.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Oh, yeah, the game is really, really kind with its death resets. Like, if you fall off the map, you just respawn on the last solid ledge you were on, no problem.
Yeah, not even a health loss, not even damage. You just respawn. Yeah. It's not even like an end of the level or game over kind of thing.
And if you die to damage or spikes, you just go back a couple of screens. It's nowhere near Hollow Knight's level of like send you back to a bench for a long walk to think about what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. The colors popped out to me. That was one of the first things too. Was this is very, I hate to say this, but it was like, oh, this looks like art that I see in Mexican restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's that style. You know what I mean? But the more I got into it, the more I was like, oh, that reminds me of the like Mayan type architecture and things like that. And that's like they didn't do just your stereotypical like people in sombreros and things like that. Like they literally dove into some Mexican lore and things. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think an important thing to know about this game too is, because I did some digging into it, was like, who came up with the concept and who did the artwork for it. So Drinkbox Studios is a Canadian studio, so it's up in Canada. But the concept lead and main artist for the game was a guy named Augusto Quijano, who's originally from Yucatan, Mexico. So like he came up with the idea and did most of the artwork for it. So you can tell that it was something that he loved and wanted to bring up there to them. And I think it just works out great because like it's obviously crafted with a lot of love and honor for the culture while also being hilarious.
Yeah. And that was another thing that jumped out at me was this game's funny as fuck.
This game has a great sense of humor, but I think that authenticity is also very important because, like, I would have felt a little awkward if it turned out this whole game was like Speedy Gonzales or something, where it was like awkward, someone else's view of the culture. And it's definitely designed to be recognizable to gringos and stuff. Yeah. Like, we get most of the jokes and all of that, but like, it's also obvious that the guy that made it as like a tribute to a lot of the parts of his culture he thought was fun and interesting.
That's fair.
Kind of like, I don't know, like if I bring up Speedy Gonzales as like the example of, white guy doing Mexican thing, like the opposite is like Moana, where it's like, it was really built by people that were like really into that Polynesian culture and shit like that. And I think that this game did a really good job of finding that ground where it was like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like I'm like, oh, ha, 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 Mexico is hilarious. I'm like, man, this game is just fun.
You saying Gringos reminded me of a quick little story. I was playing Jurassic World Evolution, and I built a hotel, and it was like, hey, you can name your hotel. So I named it Gringos Locos. Right? And my buddy Joey looks at it, and he goes, well, that's not a very nice thing for them to name that building. And I went, oh, I named it. And he went, oh, all right. It's just like, he's like, why'd you name it that? And I said, because the only people who are going to go to an island populated by dinosaurs are crazy ass white people. And he went, that's fair. That's fair.
Say what you want about white people, but we have no sense of danger. It's embarrassing, really.
Me and Jeremy were talking earlier today about he went to a zoo over in Ireland, and he said that like the fence between you and the rhinoceroses was like a wooden picket fence style thing, and then just like a 6-foot drop. And I was like, dude, you know why it's like that? Because they haven't had any fucking issues. I was like, you know why the ones in America are 6 feet tall fences with razor wire and shit? Because people here are dumb.
They jump into the gorilla pit.
Yeah. Oh, but that just brings you back into heaven.
Dicks out for Harambe and Jesus.
We are keeping this meme alive 3 weeks in a row, y'all.
Yes. And then, like when Jesus needs to save the world, he just throws on his lucha mask and hops down, fighting things. So
finally,
that's one thing I wanted to ask you guys about this, because admittedly, I got the least far in this game out of the three of us. You both beat it. I did not.
So Nate, for what it's worth, I think our respective results were Dalton reached about the halfway point. I played it to the first ending, and Nathan played it to the true ending.
Yep.
So my question is, I just wanted to make sure I'm remembering this right. You die at the beginning of the game. Like, you get killed by the fiery skeleton dude. And then you get brought back by the lucha mask. So I guess my question is, and you guys might not know this, in Mexican culture, like in that style, like, is there a thing with lucha libre? I guess they're like the larger than life types, like almost superheroes there. So like, is that like the correlation they're going for? Or is that kind of just maybe something they did just for a game effect?
I don't know necessarily, but I do know that, like, a lot of Mexican wrestling characters tend to be, like, I don't know, like, there are a lot of supernatural concepts that are used in them. There are characters like, the first big, huge international superstar of wrestling was El Santo, who was the Saint. That's a very religious concept, and he was a masked wrestler. And there's also guys these days, Pentagon, who is like, or Pentagon Jr. actually, but he's like a skeleton guy too. So it's like, I think that like, I don't know, maybe all that intersects with complex Catholic mythology, and I know that Dia de los Muertos is very important too, but like, I can't say for certain that I understand the culture enough to know that like a luchador necessarily strides the bounds between life and death. But I think maybe the idea is that a luchador is such a bigger than life character that maybe it just, the rules don't apply. It's like a superhero.
Yeah, and that's basically what I was thinking, because like I know that like most luchadors that wear masks, they wear their mask in public. When they go out, like I think it's Dr. Wagner Jr., like he's never been seen in public without his mask or something like that. Like one of those guys, it's really impressive how much they live that character. So I was just, I was thinking like the larger than life thing. Yeah. I need a mod for this game where I can play as Vampiro. or like a little costume, you know what I mean? That'd be fun. So, my mind just blanked. One of you guys, go ahead. About the game itself. You can start talking.
Yes, like the game kind of like story-wise starts off where you're an avocado farmer and like you're going to the town to do some help for the Catholic Church. Like you're helping set up for, I don't remember what the exact event was, but you're helping set up. They need help bringing in chairs and things, and you get sent to the mansion of the president to bring some chairs over there, and that's when the main villain of the story appears, Kalaka, and basically destroys the mansion, kills you, and kidnaps the president's daughter. So we have to find out if you are a bad enough dude to save the president's daughter.
I like that. Thank you. That was a good joke.
Thanks. So that's like the basic concept is the main villain, Kalaka, takes the president's daughter, and you are trying to save the president's daughter and at the same time the world from Kalaka.
Not to be confused with Cloaca.
No, do not make that confusion. Jesus.
Oh boy.
Well, my first thought when I saw the name Cloaca was Final Fantasy X, when you meet that Owaka, and he's like, "Welcome to Owakas." I just pictured being like, "My name's Cloaca." So like that was the voice I heard for that enemy in my head. I'm like, no, this guy is definitely not some British Final Fantasy character, but in my head, that's damn sure how he talked.
It's funny.
So there ends up being a huge cast of characters. You end up exploring the world, trying to find yourself between the land of the living and the dead, because Carlos Kalaka, his name is actually Carlos. You find that out later. I'm sorry for spoilers, but it's not that deep of a spoiler. He has usurped the devil. He has basically trapped and imprisoned and tricked the devil, and his goal is now to merge the lands of the living and the dead. And he wants to take the daughter of El Presidente, which was your childhood love interest, and make her his queen in this new world between life and death.
Yeah.
And your name is Juan, right?
Juan Aguacate.
Juan Aguacate.
You're an agave farmer, a very simple man, and once you're killed, you find that luchador mask, which helps you. I don't know how the luchador mask brings you back to life. It was kind of, even in the game, it was kind of like hand waved and funny, but
I liked that before that, like when things were happening and they were like, "Juan, run to safety. You're not a luchador. You can't help.
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Like only a couple characters in the game even call you Juan after that. Once you've become the mask, most everyone in the game just calls you luchador.
Yeah.
Like you are not called Juan by anyone except, I think, the daughter of El Presidente and also by Carlos Kalaka, and I think that's it. No one else calls you Juan.
And I appreciate that because that's kayfabe.
Yeah, it's kayfabe. It's awesome.
It's very
I think no one else knows you're Juan except those people.
Yeah, because once you have the mask on, you are the luchador. Even though he is one big avocado farmer. Let's be real.
Dude.
Yeah. He's a chunky boy. Triangle-shaped motherfucker.
He puts the basket around his neck and he gets all the avocado.
Right. I think that was part of the storyline too, was like as a child he was like training as as a luchador, and he
Yes.
just couldn't hack it or something like that back then.
Well, his childhood dream was to become a luchador. He even tried to put on a luchador mask that he made himself to fight some bullies or something like that, and it paid off very badly for him. But the daughter of the president does remember you.
Yeah.
And she still kind of has a thing for you from the time you tried to stand up for her as a child, which is kind of a JoJo's Part 1 type plot too, but whatever.
He's got a sweet ass mustache too.
Oh yeah.
I dug it. Like, I love that. Like, I wish I could grow a nice mustache, but I can't.
Yeah.
I wish I could grow that nice torso he has.
Right. Jeez, dude.
Yeah. He did look like he skipped a few leg days, but like he benches every day, all day.
I'm just saying, from his trunks to his chin, he was just a triangle.
Yeah, big motherfucker. The gameplay to me, like right even from the beginning, dude, super fluid. Like,
Yeah.
little to no input lag. He wasn't slidey.
Not at all. No.
Like, oh, it was very precise, I guess would be the term. Not that your movements had to be, but if you needed to be precise, you could be, which was very appreciative.
Right. I think that's the main concepts of the game as far as gameplay wise, is it's a lot of simple platforming in the beginning, and then the fighting sections. Like, I know a lot of people don't like games like Metroid because they don't like the combat. This game brings in more of a beat 'em up style to it, where like you have a system where you can do combos by pressing the buttons and using specials, which you get later on in the game. And then you get throws too, so you can throw your enemies at your other enemies or do special throws. You have one called Das Boot, where you basically just like Sparta kick them across the screen. You have a pile driver, and you have a suplex.
That's amazing.
And so it's really fun just to punch a guy 3 times in the face, grab him and suplex him, and the suplex hits the enemy behind you, and then you can continue the combo onto the enemy that you just suplexed the enemy into.
Dude, I feel like an idiot. I didn't even realize that you could do that. Like, I constantly was just throwing them around the room. I would just hit Y and just toss them.
See, if you hit B,
Yeah,
you
you
use
hit
your
the other
specials,
attack,
which were actual throws, so you actually had like suplexes and pile drivers.
God
In
damn,
fact, one of my
I'm gonna have to look
favorite
this game up
combinations
later.
was punch, punch, up punch, which like lifts him in the air. They would jump up, punch, punch, grab, pile driver,
Yeah.
and it was just like,
Pile driver from the
Hey,
sky,
that
boom!
yes,
Hell yeah.
would waste anyone that was like less than one of the more major enemies.
Yeah, and your enemies, for the most part, were little skeletons. So, like, you'd be fighting a bunch of plethora of different skeletons. Like, the main one you run into, like, the Goomba of the game, would be like the skeleton in the green poncho. He was basic attacks, and I think it was really a good way to train you. You had a dodge roll, so if somebody was attacking, you could dodge through them, come up to the other side, and start punching them in the back.
And then they had the yellow skeleton that had that dodge roll ability, so you had to kind of learn that too. And
They were
time
the
it.
faster ones.
Yeah.
And then there were the red skeletons that threw projectiles at you.
Yeah. Now, one of the cool mechanics too is like you would enter an area and they would shut both ways out, and then they would just throw some waves of enemies at you. I really liked when they would do that, and there was like that little portal that shifted you between the living and the dead worlds, and you would have to jump in there because, like, say 4 enemies showed up and you'd have 2 green skeletons, but then there'd be 2 shadowed out ones. And in order to do damage to the shadowed out ones, you had to jump through that portal, go over to the land of the dead, and then fuck with those guys. And there were a lot of sections where the platforming was affected by that too. I thought that was a really cool little mechanic.
Yeah, I hate to bring this up because it's kind of a mild spoiler for that game, but that platforming mechanic reminded me a lot of another similar mechanic in the game, The Messenger.
Oh, well, I mean, I know what that is. It's not a huge... I mean, unless you don't want to spoil it for the listeners.
No, I mean, it's not a huge spoiler. It's a, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's a spoiler type thing, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, the platforming in this game was a lot similar to, like, it had things like that from The Messenger, but it also just had like a lot of good wall jump mechanics. Like, playing on the walls in this game felt as good, if not better, than Mario wall jumps in like New Super Mario Brothers U. You know, like the wall jumps felt really good in this game.
And I super appreciated that your character actually had grip. So, like, if you jumped to the wall and grabbed it, you could just hold the wall and you would stay there. So you could think about your next move instead of jumping up there and then sliding slowly down.
And that also,
and you could choose to, like, grip it and then, like, let go and slide a little bit, grip it, slide down. Like, you had a lot of control. Like, I at first thought this game was just like a pretty well done platformer, but as you accumulate abilities, you start to get basically all the shit you had in Hollow Knight, and yet you still have such a great feeling of control over it.
Yeah, like some of the moves you get like don't seem like they're going to be movement oriented in the beginning, because your first I think the first thing you unlock, which this was hilarious to me, was like you broke a statue that looked like a Chozo statue from Metroid called the Chuzo statue. Yeah. And this man appears and is mad at you for breaking a statue, but then teaches you how to do the rooster uppercut, which is basically like a Shoryuken, essentially. And not only is it a really powerful attack that's good in fighting, but it also acts almost as another jump, because it's not quite as big as your jump, but it gives you just that little extra upward momentum so that you can land on a platform you previously couldn't, or go through something. And there's also blocks that can be destroyed by it to help open up new areas. So there's different specials. The Rooster Uppercut has red blocks, and if you hit a red block, you can break through it to continue on. There's a few more other power-ups if Willie or Dalton want to cover a couple of those.
Sure, I can jump in. There was a similar. The opposite of the Rooster Uppercut was the Frog Slam, which was just a straight frog splash downward that would also get rid of green blocks. There was a headbutt. Oh, go ahead, Dalton.
I just want to say about the frog splash. I was really hoping that he would do more of the frog splash animation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like tuck your elbows into your knees together.
Yeah,
and then
in my brain, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm about to RVD the shit out of this. But it was more of like a normal frog splash. But I was just like, I was hoping for over exaggerated, but they went, I guess, more technical with it. But yeah, that's all. Continue.
And then there was a headbutt that breaks through. A headbutt was like neutral B, which breaks through yellow blocks. And then there was also
the dashing derp.
There was a torch. The dashing derp, because at that point, the guy who has been trading this goat man called Chivo, he's been the goat, and he just shows up every time, and Chivo just like gets pissed off at you every time you break one of his blocks, but he just keeps on hanging out with you and telling you how to use the new power you got, and he eventually, Chivo is like, hey, fucking, I've run out of names for these moves. Stop breaking my shit. Anyway, if you hit left in direction, you do a dash. And then that breaks the blue box.
He called it the dashing derp because he was tired of coming up with names for the moves.
Done with this shit.
I love that anytime you break one of those, he's always just like, seriously? Like, do you like when people come into your house and just break the biggest thing in the room? Do you always break the biggest thing in the room when you enter someone's place?
He's always like asking a little more information about your mom so he can go find her and date her.
Yeah.
Wink. There's a lot of funny innuendo that's like kind of nicely PG-13 in here, where I don't think it would be offensive to a child per se. No. But like I think that like especially Hitabai, which was the witch girl, did a lot of that. Like almost everything she said was basically like, "Oh, not tonight. I have a headache," or like, "Not my type." You know, shit like that. You know.
Yeah, she was very open. Let's put it that way, without being too forward.
Yeah.
To me, it was a jokes that I appreciated, but I feel like that they would go right over a little kid's head because they weren't
exactly. It reminded me of like being a kid and watching like Tiny Toon Adventures and being like, okay, I don't get all these jokes, but most of them were pretty good. And I come back to them like, oh,
fingerprints.
Yeah,
this is what this joke is like if you have hormones.
Yeah, but like also what I was saying, like some of the movement, those moves give you better movement options too, like not just for breaking through blocks. Like I don't really think that the down one did much other than break the blocks and move you downwards.
Right.
But like even the neutral one lets you stall in the air a little bit. So like the headbutt, you would do it, like if you started using one of the special moves, it would cancel out any gravity. So you basically just did it in the middle air. And then, like, the dashing derp would help you get some horizontal movement in the same way that the rooster uppercut did for vertical movement.
Yeah, and that rooster uppercut was fucking crucial. Like, you had to use that in certain areas. I thought that was really neat.
Because eventually you would also run into enemies that had a shield, which would only be able to be broken by certain types of attacks. So, like, if you saw a red shield on them, that mean they had to be used, you know, you had to hit them with the rooster uppercut before they would take damage from any attacks. And so, like... I mean, between that and, like, also, like, there were moving platform areas where there were also enemies that were, like, hanging around, like, with timing, because there was, like, a bomb enemy, like, from Final Fantasy's Bomb, that would basically explode over a certain amount of time. Like, you got this you had to learn how to use your abilities to juggle yourself and the enemy in the air. And I don't know, it got really surprisingly deep.
I really hated the underground enemies, the ones that were like the little flowers.
Yeah.
That would then pop up. I fucking hated those things.
Those were a pain.
Once I figured them out.
But once you gained the frog splash move, you could actually hit them from the top and it would push them out of the ground so you could start punching them before they did their attacks.
But you had to do it before they actually launched the
Yeah.
attack, because once they got committed to the animation, they were just immune. So, like, that was maybe one of the lesser enemies of the game. I also wasn't too big on the fish enemies that would, like, stand in the water and then jumping flying fish at you.
Yeah, they were more of a stage hazard, in my opinion, than a enemy. A couple of the other enemies in the game there were giants that you had to fight, and they were basically just like you had to jump up and hit them center mass. Like if you punched their legs, it didn't do anything. So you had to do all these combos in the air in order to damage them. There were the chupacabra, which were these flying little goat dudes that would spit blood at you. And they were a pain. They were probably one of the most pain in the ass kind of enemies in the game because they could just interrupt your combos if you just got slightly off rhythm with your attacks.
See, I don't think I made it to seeing those guys. I hate to admit that I put in the exact same amount of time, or a little, maybe 20, 30 minutes less than you guys did, and you beat it. And the major thing I did was got the frog splash and started exploring more. And it was like, I don't know how I kept getting lost, but I got lost a lot in this game just running around.
It's the nature of the genre. And sometimes you just go back and you want to see what you can do with your shit, too.
Exactly, and that was what I did. I was always backtrack my steps and go try out my new moves places. But
I kind of was like, I didn't go back as much because I felt like I wasn't impoverished enough with my current abilities that I needed to gather new shit yet. So I kind of kept on pushing forward because I'm like, until I die of either a lack of stamina or a lack of health points, I'm just gonna keep on walking forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like most Metroidvanias. Getting lost and exploring annoys the shit out of me. This one I enjoyed it though because I liked the art style and stuff. So plus all the little posters and stuff you would find were
God, I'm so glad you brought that up. So throughout this whole game, like throughout all the walls and stuff, there are these posters on the walls, especially in the cities and the towns and like the areas where people are still living, and they're like references to all these fun things, but like done as if they're like posters for upcoming Lucha Libre matches.
Mm-hmm. Like one of my favorite ones was a clear reference to Castlevania. It was El Hombre versus El Vampiro. It was basically Dracula and a guy that looked suspiciously like Simon Belmont a poster together.
But it was wild how many different things they sourced them from, because a lot of them were like references to like other indie games or other big games like that. But then there was one that was just like straight up Player Uno, who at the time was a Chikara wrestler who was not known for much other than comedy spots. And now that guy is like pretty huge in AEW. He's Evil Uno, one of the main guys of the Dark Order. So it's like, that's fucking wild that like his face was just in there because they're like, we love pro wrestling too. Like, Don't get us wrong. We love some pro wrestling.
One of my favorite ones, I don't know the reference that it was giving, but I just thought it was hilarious, was like the 3 lucha heads that had the rainbow shooting out of their mouth with really wide eyes. Like, I'm not really sure what it was referencing, but every time I ran by that, I went, I like that.
I think my top favorite one was there was just a character that was geometrically based on the same shapes as Strong Bad, who was a character from like Flash cartoons from 20 years ago. But it was basically Strong Bad, and underneath him it said Fuerte Malo, which is just a really bad translation of the name Strong Bad in Spanish. Like, that's so funny to me.
Yeah, but they definitely did other indie games too, because I remember one that was obviously the Castle Crashers, and it was called Los Casa Crashers.
Las Casa Crashers, that's right. And then there was like the V head guy that was just like on a shelf in one of the rooms.
Yeah.
It's like they did so many different like cool environmental things. The more you paid attention to, the more you would like them.
I do have a quick question. I know we're talking about the posters, but as a mechanic thing, there were a couple spots that I got to where it looked like you would have to crawl to get through. Do you ever get a move to be able to go through that?
Okay, so story-wise, yes, you do end up getting a move like that. You end up getting transformed into a chicken by Kalaka. And so eventually, when you're doing that, you're stuck as a chicken for like 10 minutes in the game. And so you have to start running through the area, and you run into another chicken. He's like, oh, don't you know you can just change forms by yourself? Just hit the L button. So then from that point in the game on, you could change between Juan and the chicken Juan.
Okay.
Also, is it just me, or is there an implication as to who the chicken is?
Oh, yeah, that chicken's the devil.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
that's
was El Diablo.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I wasn't the only one that was like thinking, wait, shit, hold
No,
on.
it confirms a little bit later in the game that it is Diablo. I don't know if you went to the Infierno. Yeah, you did. So you probably saw him down there.
I went to El Infierno, but I didn't actually do any of the tasks.
Okay. Because you do end up talking to that same
But I
chicken
did see
there again.
that I did see that the devil had been transformed into a chicken by Kalaka as one of his plats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, shit, that design. Oh, that's.
That also explains the unlockable costume that gives Juan the chicken suit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's really random.
And the costume that gives him the devil's suit, which is what I used through most of the game towards the end. Because the devil's suit lets you heal every time you hit an enemy, but you only have half health.
Well, that's like a give and take. I didn't realize that the costumes had different stuff. I just, every time I got a new one, I would change to it.
Yeah, there were a few different costumes. And the funny thing is if you beat the game in the devil costume at full health, that gives you a achievement.
I got it.
You did get that one?
I did get that one,
the
baby.
devil wears revenge, because it's like the devil's revenge for Kalaka. Transforming him into a chicken. So I didn't get that one because I didn't play that in that suit, but I want to go back and get that at some point too.
Hell yeah. I did appreciate some of the achievements this game had that I got, like some of the names of them. Let me pull it up if we can look at it.
Okay, one, before we get, like, this is an achievement too, but I thought this was a really great reference. So you end up fighting a boss called the Alebrije, which is basically like a Mexican art form. I can't remember exactly, but it's like pretty cool. And you end up fighting him, and he chases you across the map, and you're basically doing an outrunning segment where you have to outrun this monster that's chasing you. At the end of that section, you get to an axe.
That's right.
So you step on the axe, and then the bridge falls out from underneath him, and he falls into the lava. So it's basically like a Bowser fight from Mario 1. Yeah. And you get an achievement when you do that called Gato Frito, fried cat.
That's one big gato frito.
Yeah. And I love that reference.
Even towards the end of the game, too, there were a ton of fun little references like that, too. Like, even in the last stage's music, like, after it looped a little bit, there was a little bit of music that was just going, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
There's apparently there's an achievement for starting a new game in Safe Slot 2, and the achievement is called Next Gen. And I think that's because on the original
version of the game didn't have.
Save slot.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh my god. Oh, this game just like they seem like they made it with a lot of love for their genre. For like, they made a game that was based on the love of video games, the love of lucha libre culture, the love of Mexico. Like, this game, all the love just comes through so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was only one other achievement that jumped out at me. I haven't gotten it yet, obviously, but it become a chicken. It's called Pollo Power.
Yeah, you're not too far from that, from what I remember, from where you left off in the game. Like, because that is about a halfway mark point in the game. I feel like too is when you become the chicken.
Okay, well, I'll probably pick it up a little and play it a little more tonight because I got to pile drive somebody.
Hell yeah!
Like, that's just a thing that I have to do.
So you hit the grab button, and you hit down and the attack button, and that should.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What else would you guys like to touch on?
Yeah, so
this, man?
We covered a lot of the mechanics. Some of the other things I'd like to talk about a little bit are some of the characters in the game. So there's a guy called Flame Phase, who's basically was cursed by the devil after he died just to have his head on fire at all times. And so his whole thing is he just likes to sit in the bar and drink to kill away the pain.
He's the alcoholic, yeah.
And like, it's one of those funny things where, you know, like in those old Western movies where people would shoot their guns off at the floor and stuff. So in the first couple of meetings you had with Flame Face, he would do that. Then he'd point his gun right at you. He's like, now it's your time to die. And he'd pull the trigger on his first gun and it would click because it was out of ammo. Then the second gun, it would happen the same thing. It's just really funny stuff. I love that guy. And he ended up being a boss in the game that you end up fighting as well.
He's actually... Like, I remember the last thing I saw when I pulled up my map is his face glowing near the forest, so I have to go find him. So, Dude, I liked him a lot, and I also liked. I think we mentioned her. I call her Lady X because I can't pronounce her name, but she also cracked me up.
Yeah, I think the name is supposed to be pronounced Khatabai, but it's like X apostrophe Tabay. It's she's like the witch character of the game. She has a huge crush on the final boss. Mm-hmm. Well, I call him the final boss. Everyone knows Carlos Calaca is going to be the final boss, right? Like it's very, very fucking obvious from the start of the game.
Yeah.
This is not spoilers, but yeah. So she has a huge crush on him, and then she's jealous that he's, stolen the president's daughter because she's like, wasn't on me.
Yeah. And then there was another guy called Jaguar Javier, who's a living that kind of started working for Calaca at some point too. And he was just a pretty cool boss. Like, supposed to be like the biggest, baddest luchador of his own. And you end up having to fight him at one point as well.
Oh, that's what's up. So there's actually like a lucha versus lucha fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like one of the first guys you run into in the game, and he's like talking about how you're not strong enough, don't follow me or whatever. And then you even get to the top, and he's like, you're not strong enough, don't follow me. And you finally get to Javier, and it's like, oh, we're doing this.
It's a really good fight because he has a similar moveset to Juan. So you're like fighting another luchador that has similar abilities as you, which makes for a really fun fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I noticed, like, in a lot of beat-em-up games, like, you end up having to fight somebody with similar abilities as you. And, if you look back at, like, old Double Dragons and things like that, and it's never been fun. This game had a good way with enough of movement, enough movesets, that the fights were actually really fun against characters with similar abilities. Like, I would wonder how you could do a versus mode, how that would feel, like, if me and you could fight each other,
Yeah, that would be fun. Like, I feel like, did Juan end up showing up in like Brawl Out or anything?
Yeah, he's in one of them. Like, it wasn't. Which one was he? I think it might have been Brawl Out.
I think because Brawl Out was the one that had like ukulele
and the prisoner from Dead Cells.
Yes, Juan Agocate is a guest character in Brawl Out. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to install Brawl Out because I have that game and I'm always like, I should check this out, and then I never do. But
I haven't played that. I don't have that one. I might have to check it out as well.
I was looking up characters for crossover fighting brawlers that are indie based, and like I found out Taro was in 2 of them last time. So well, 2 episodes ago, but it's so weird.
There are a couple other moves that you get in the game too that end up being really fun as well. I'm having trouble with the names of them. Willie, you might be able to help me out there. There's the one that's like the move from Hollow Knight where you can do the crystal dash, where you basically...
I think it was just called Goat Fly.
Goat Fly, that is the name of it.
I think it was Goat Fly and Goat Climb are the ones you have.
Yeah, so Goat Fly, basically, if you're attached to a wall, you can just send yourself infinitely flying in the other direction.
That's awesome.
So it's like really cool because you can reach new platforms that you couldn't before off screen. And then the other one's Goat Climb. So like instead of like having to do wall jumps and stuff, you can run straight up a straight wall. So it adds even more crazy platforming elements towards the end of the game when you get those 2 abilities.
Now does that help with the walls that are covered in that green slime, or is that just there just because that's just you can't climb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Green slime walls are just straight up. You should not be on.
Oh, also you do get a double jump at one point in the game. You don't start with that too.
Oh.
Yeah, so you get a traditional double jump in addition to the rooster uppercut.
I got to tell you really quickly. I knew this kid growing up, and he told me that he could double jump.
What, IRL?
Like, yeah, in real life. And I said, "You're full of shit." He goes, "No, man, it's totally possible. Watch." And he jumps and then like tries to like throw himself up further and hyperextended his leg.
And then he died.
And then he just hit the ground holding his leg, and I went, "Yeah, that seemed to go well, Mike. That seemed to go well."
That had to be fun to watch, though.
Oh, hilarious. Fucking hilarious. Exactly.
Oh, man. You gotta love stuff like that.
But the move where you can fly across, you call it a goat fly? Yeah. Dude, that sounds hella helpful.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And it's especially useful to get to secret areas because, like, after I'd beaten the game, I went ahead and did some more exploring because, like, I wanted to see how close I could get to 100%. I'm at 99% now. So we didn't talk about this a lot, but you do go to hell. You can go to hell in Infierno in the game. So what is basically in Infierno is a set of 17 challenge rooms that you have to be able to do.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
and so like you can get bronze, silver, and gold medals. In order to get 100%, you have to gold medal all of them. I just wasn't ready to do that last night.
So I reached the entrance of El Infierno, and I went there, and I kind of looked around and thought, like, this is charming and fun. And I just fucking left the moment I could so I could continue doing the game. So it's challenge rooms then. Specifically, like, can you do this in 6 seconds or something?
Right, and there's ones that's like, get the biggest combo you can without being able to dodge. Do the biggest combo you can without being able to throw. Get the biggest combo you can without being able to do your special moves. So there's a lot of challenges like that. Then there's platforming challenges like get through this segment in X amount of seconds for bronze, X amount of seconds for silver, X for gold. So there's a lot of stuff like that in there. Just a lot of different challenges. And like in order to get one of the special power-ups, which is Pollo Bomba, which is basically you shoot an egg out when you're in your chicken form. It's a bomb. You have to get a silver medal on 10 of the rooms. In order to get the true ending of the game, you have to get a gold medal in at least 10 of the rooms.
Phew.
Okay.
So I'm currently at 10 gold medals.
I only hit the. I did not get the super ending. I just got the basic ending.
Yes.
And if y'all brought this up earlier and I missed it, I apologize. Have we talked about Intenso?
No, we haven't talked about Intenso at all. Go for it, bro.
So Intenso is like what I consider your special meter in a game, and when it builds up, correct me, I think it was either you press in both sticks or it was L1 and R1.
Both sticks.
One of the two.
Both sticks.
Both sticks. And it activates, and one just like becomes this glowing, like almost like Super Saiyan type thing. Not quite that exaggerated, but like all your attacks are faster. I felt like you did more damage. And it is super fucking helpful if you're like in a room with a bunch of enemies. If you just want to clear them out as quick as possible, pop that super intenso. But I did find myself trying to save that for when I needed it, and then I started realizing that it builds up relatively quickly. So there's really no point in saving it.
Yeah, I played a lot of the game without using it at all. Then when I started, like, okay, let's start incorporating the super intenso into the gameplay, things got a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Because it definitely brings down like the golems really quick.
Yeah.
I also
found
tough enemies like the windmillers I just had a lot of trouble with, and I was like, okay, I could just out.
You know how I dealt with those windmill enemies? I would just use the dashing derp, and it would knock them out of their windmill and onto their back, and then I could just continue a combo.
Continue a condom.
Continue a combo from there. There's our word screw up for the episode. Wowzers!
Hooray!
Yeah, I would mostly use Intenso when I was fighting the I called them spiky roly-polies.
The armadillos.
Like, it was armadillo. Okay, yeah, those guys. Like, I would do that and then just kick their ass and throw them around.
Yeah. Throwing is so
they weren't
fun.
super hard, but it really is, dude.
Oh, for sure.
I wish it did a little more damage for the regular throw. But, dude, just when you have, like, 5 skeletons coming at you and you're able to hit the first one and then throw him and then just knock them all down, it's like, strike!
Yeah.
I was going to say, the combat feels so good in this game compared to other Metroidvanias, and I think it's because, like we said earlier, it's mixing in the beat-em-up elements, but the beat-em-up section is parts of it are really good, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I'm not even a big fan of beat-em-up games in general, but I think, like, this one, like, I enjoyed, I don't know, just the way it did. Like, the combos felt really satisfying to input, and the damage felt like sensible and shit. And like, I feel like towards the end of the game, you kind of learn, okay, I need to be spending my stamina resources really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like one thing I was worried about going into this game, because I had heard that there were input moves, was I was like, oh my god, am I going to have to use do an actual Shoryuken or Hadoken input every time I want to do something in this game? No, it's not really true input moves. It's all just like up, down, left, right, B, or neutral B, or whatever to do your specials. So, like,
it's more like Smash Bros. Than a real input.
Yeah, it's not like you're having to do Sub-Zero's ice ball every time you want to jump up. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like, I was a little bit concerned about that when we started playing, but then I saw how it actually worked. I was like, oh, this is nothing. This is easy. Come on.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on about it?
I think that's pretty much it. Like, I don't see a need to cover, like, all the main story beats, because it's not a super story-intensive game. It gives you the story that you expect. The true ending is just the happy version of the ending of the game. Like, I'm not going to say what the main difference is, but once you get the first ending, you'll be able to guess what the true ending is, no problem. So...
Oh, hell yeah, man. If you were going to give this a lucha mask out of Dave Meltzer stars, what would you guys give it?
I absolutely love this game. I liked it more than I thought I would going into it. I expected a 7.
I came into this game wondering, like, when we first started, you were like pretty okay with it. And there was a minute where you were so hot. I'm like, did Nate just find a new favorite Metroidvania? Like, I feel like not only should you answer this question, I kind of want to know where this lies in your top 5-ish.
I could do that. So
after we're done with our numbers.
So I went in expecting this to be like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10 Metroidvania. I got a 9, and I'm giving it 9.5 of masks out of
Meltzer.
because like this game is just blew all my expectations out of the water, and I came in expecting to like it.
Hell yeah. What about you, Willie?
I have no problem with that. I would give this. I genuinely had a great time. I felt like the controls were incredibly precise, but like, dude, I get that there's depth in this. Like, if you start playing this game again and you want to speedrun it, Pollo Power is going to be so fucking crazy in terms of getting through a lot of those levels that, like, this game has got to be damn deep. I'm just going to say, as a game I played, I'm eventually going to give it, let's say 8.5 Huracan Ranas out of 10 Tope Planchas.
Okay. I'm going to give it an 8.
Fair.
8 masks out of Luchador Sweat.
Nice.
It was fun. I don't think I quite had as much fun with it as you guys did, but that it goes back to like Metroidvanias aren't like my quite cup of tea. But
just fair.
I did enjoy it for what it is.
Like, I didn't think I would like it this much because I didn't expect there to be that much beat 'em up in it, and I thought my beat 'em up top level would be like, I would give fucking Golden Axe an 8 out of 10 right now. I enjoyed this more than Golden Axe, so fucking apparently there's more to the genre.
Yeah, and that was one thing that really saved it for me was like the combat felt punchy and like it felt good to do. So that definitely
everything in
bumped
this
it up.
game, there's a lot of satisfying immediate feedback. It feels really nice.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So going back to Willie's question for you, Nate, where would this fall in your top list?
So thinking about that, like as far as favorite Metroidvanias go, it's up there. It's definitely in top 3, top 5 contention. Like it's up there with games like Metroid Dread, which is my favorite Metroid currently.
Wow.
And Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. It's like in that range of how good of a Metroidvania I think it is. Like it's not as good as Hollow Knight. I don't know that anything will ever touch Hollow Knight for me, but it's definitely in the contention with those heavy hitters for me. Like it's way better than other Metroidvanias that had a lot of hype coming out recently, like Bloodstained.
Yeah, see, I haven't played Bloodstained.
I feel like you particularly didn't vibe with Blood. Like, I think you felt like Bloodstained was bad Aria of Sorrow. So
yeah, spoilers if we ever play it, Bloodstained is bad. I'm gonna get hate for that, but I don't care.
I'll be interested how you get on with the Record of Lodos War one, the Deedlit.
Oh yeah, that looks fun, dude. That looks pretty cool too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it in early access. I have not played it since it came out of early access, but it was quite fun, and that's me saying.
Yeah.
It. So like, it was.
I mean, there's still plenty of like legendary Metroidvanias that are still left. Like fucking, I mean, I still don't think you've played Cave Story, which was like the first indie game that was published as an indie game that hit that kind of height.
Yeah, I haven't, and that's one I definitely need to get into. And I know that I gave a lot of praise to Gato Roboto because I think that is a great game, but like it has nothing on Guacamelee. Guacamelee just has like such a good atmosphere, gameplay, and it's just all around fun. Like I just love this game a lot.
It's actually one little thing I didn't touch on in this game, which is just I really like the fact that the music did different things when you were viewing the same area in the Land of the Dead and the Land of the Living.
Yeah, that was definitely a really nice touch.
Like, because it was done subtly a lot too. Like, it wasn't always like completely different sounds. It was like the same instrumentation, but maybe like the trumpet would be muted and shit like that. Like, I don't know. It was really cool.
Going back to all the like the great Metroidvanias and stuff. I would like to reiterate this, that I've mentioned this before. RetroArch is technically on Steam now. Or I call it RetroArch. You want to call it RetroArch, do what you will. But, so, I mean, it is our show and we could do what the fuck we wanted. So if we ever wanted to be like, oh, let's play Symphony of the Night. Yeah. I mean, technically, we're playing it through Steam. I'm just saying.
I'm not against doing that at some point. We might take a break to do a lot of off-kilter games like that at some point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to become a regular thing, but every now and then if we're just like, oh, you know what? Let's fucking play Jersey Devil. Yeah. Or let's play Gauntlet, the original Gauntlet or something. You know, it's just, who the fuck, you know, I'm just naming random games, but it would be cool to do too. That's just a thought. Let's see. Oh, I did want to mention that Drinkbox Studios did release a game this year on January 18th, and it's called Nobody Saves the World. And I've heard a few people mention that it's quite a fun little game. And I can imagine if it was the people behind Guacamelee, I'm sure it is pretty fun.
Yeah, these people have gained a lot of favor for me in my eyes, so like I'm definitely willing to give some more Drinkbox games some time down the line.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before I get into the house cleaning, as I like to call it, I got this email, which was really interesting. It says, warning, highly classified data included. And when I clicked on it, it says, dear members of the Steam Machine, we are requesting your help in a matter of utmost importance. We need you to report to our location, the oldest house in New York City. And the interesting part is the bottom of the email, it says a bunch of just blank, blacked out text. I don't know why they would redact that information, but I will say that it is signed by the FBC, which is the Federal Bureau of Control. So it looks like next week we will be diving into some fucking control, gentlemen.
Sounds good, man.
All right, let's go.
I look forward to it. That is my host choice. And I've been wanting to play it. It's been on like 4 or 5 different polls and has not won. So, motherfucker, I'm making it win this. We're going to play it. So, yeah, that'll be next week. And then I believe that just leaves the house cleaning. So if you would, if you listen to us on iTunes or Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you listen to us, if they have a review system, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star review and left us, you know, what you like about the show. I like to read out 5-star reviews. I do check every now and then when we get new ones, I read them out. So please, that would be awesome if you would do that. It helps us a lot with the algorithm and all that other tech mumbo jumbo bullshit. If you want to come join our Discord, which I highly suggest you do because we do have fan polls that you can vote on, and that game once a month we'll pick your game. If we're playing a long game, then every other week you guys get to choose the short game that we play in between. Plus there's just banter and good video game chat. There's a lot of anime and manga chat. That channel has become probably one of the more popular channels in the whole server, which is fine with me, man. I love reading all that. I'm just glad that there is interaction. And that is bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. You'd be good to go there. If you want to come, if you'd like to, do you want to come? Jerk off. But if you would like to, donate and help out the show.
So easy.
If you want to donate and help out the show, you can join our Patreon. Is patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. $1 a month gets you the episodes early, and you get any of the extra little stuff that we do on Patreon. $10 a month will get you all of that. Plus, I will read your name out at the end of the show, much like these wonderful people. Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of Juniper, Jeff, the original expendable old Jeffy Lube himself, and Oriser Adam. Shout out to his podcast, Revival and Extinction. Everybody should go listen to that. So if you want to join that list of people, those wonderful people, it's $10 a month. Then... Chavo. I don't know how I went through this whole episode and didn't do that. You want to get a shirt, tsmpproductions.threadless.com. Get you a shirt with our logo on it, or it's just steamy, whatever floats your boat. If you like our music, it's nilethenightmare.bandcamp.com is where you could find my music. And if you're listening to this on Thursday when it comes out, Friday, I think that's March 5th, is Bandcamp Friday because it's the first Friday of the month. So
Nice. So Bandcamp Friday, I believe all of the money taken in by Bandcamp will be given to the artist rather than the company. So there is no split whatsoever. If you buy an album on that day, Dalton will receive all of the proceeds.
Yep. The only thing that gets taken is if I have to transfer it from PayPal to my bank. Then PayPal's like, no, we're still taking our piece. But other than that, I get all of it, which is nice. So that'll be then. And if you just want a cool link to all of that, including the stuff that Nate is about to pitch to you, I would like to point you to bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast, capitalized phonetically. That's our website. You can find the episodes, links to all of our stuff, including one Turtle Bear Man. So, sir, if you'd go ahead and pitch your stuff.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok at Turtle Bear Man. Here recently, I started playing on Fridays SpongeBob: The Battle for Bikini Bottom. That's been a fun one. I'll probably stick with that one for a couple weeks. So if you want to catch that, catch me on Friday. If you want to catch my retro stuff, I just played The Goonies 2 for the NES on Sunday. So if you like retro, come catch me Sunday. For Friday, for a little bit, I'll probably be playing SpongeBob. So come catch me out, guys.
Yeah, the SpongeBob's awesome, too. I really enjoyed that last stream you did. You kept me entertained while I built my massive bridge in Ark. Willie, you got anything you would like to plug this week, my good sir?
No.
All right. Well, I have a recommendation. I don't know where you can watch it. It's probably on Disney Plus, but just because of what you guys were talking about earlier, everybody should go watch the movie My Date with the President's Daughter. Stars the guy who played Eric from Boy Meets World. I can't remember. Will Ferrell, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, next week, Control. And I think that about does it, gentlemen. And I did not look up a Spanish way to end this, so...
Adios, amigos!
You didn't even let me get out the as always.
Sorry, let's try it again.
As always, guys.
Chupa mi pink, cabrón.
Adios! I'm not editing that.